Hello, everyone. Welcome to Farmshelf for Education. My name is Nina Sclafani. I am the Senior Events Coordinator for Tech, and you are in day 3 of the Tech Virtual Summit. We've had a lot of great presentations so far. If there's any that you've missed that you want to see, we have a YouTube page dedicated to all of the sessions that we've run at this point. You can access that without a password. I will send that to you in your follow-up email. We're gonna wait about 2 minutes to let more people come into the space. But if you are just joining us, welcome to Farmshelf for Education. We're joined by Jared today, who is coming to us all the way from California. The nice weather in California. Hopefully he is getting better weather than us in New York, as we have just clouds and rain. Jared, how's it looking in Cali? A little better?
I would say normally it is, but somehow the East Coast humidity has come to California, piling on with some wildfires. So it's nice and sunny and in the 80s, but with nice cloud of smog and smoke.
With the occasional wildfire. What a time to be alive. Audience, if you were just joining us, welcome to Farmshelf for Education. We're going to get started in a couple more seconds. We're just waiting for more people to enter the room. But welcome to day 3 of Tech's Virtual Summit. This is the second one that we've had since this time of COVID, and I hope you've all been finding valuable information in all of these sessions, all dedicated to helping you prepare for the coming school year. With that, my name is Nina Sclafani. I am the Senior Events Coordinator for Tech. Welcome to Farmshelf for Education. If you're new to Zoom, take your mouse and scroll over your screen right now. You'll see at the bottom there's a tab that comes up. There's a Q&A box and a chat box. If you click into both of those, they'll pop out. And during the session, feel free to use that chat to let us know where you're from, what you teach, and if there's anything that you think is really valuable that you've heard in the session. But if you have a question, make sure to ask it in the Q&A box. I have Alyssa and Lisa here from Tech. They're going to help answer any of those questions that they have. If there's something that they can't address in the chat, Jared will help answer that during the session if it works for that time, or in the end, there will be a few minutes for questions. Last reminder, a couple of housekeeping notes. You're going to receive a follow-up email from me within the next 24 hours. That email is going to include a video of this presentation, a link to the YouTube page where we're also hosting all of the other videos from our Tech Virtual Summit. So you'll be able to access all of that without any password, and a link to Jared's presentation today so that you can keep your learning going. With that, I would like to introduce Jared. Jared, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's good to be here. Let me just share my screen real fast. And we should be rocking and rolling. So yeah, Nina, thank you for the kind introduction. My name is Jared Welker. I'm the Chief of Staff here at Farmshelf. And we create smart indoor farms for the classroom and also for other verticals as well. And so really excited to be here and partnering with Tech, and excited to hopefully get lots of great questions from all of you. And like they mentioned earlier, please feel free as the presentation rolls on. Would love for this to be a great conversation. And so feel free to butt in and throw any questions or thoughts you may have as we roll through. So starting off, we're going to have a great little intro video to get you a little familiar with who we are.
Food connects us, but we are less connected to our food today than ever. So we built a smart indoor farm the size of a bookcase. Farmshelf reconnects people to their food by bringing the farm to you. We believe everyone should have access to fresh food. Farmshelf makes access possible where you live, work, and eat. Farmshelf is in restaurants, hotels, corporate cafes, schools. By growing what you need where you are, we reduce food waste and packaging. We built Farmshelf to be simple enough for anyone to use. We deliver seed pods and plant nutrients. You just add water to the tank. You get to watch your food grow. experience a new connection with your food. We are Farmshelf. We bring the farm to you.
So there you go. That's Farmshelf in a quick little 1-minute clip. And I really want to emphasize in this presentation, how easy Farmshelf is. My role here at Farmshelf is Chief of Staff. I do mostly partnerships and fundraising and kind of more of that back office type of work. But during COVID, as all of you kind of can imagine, roles shift and change, and I've actually been here on the West Coast, and I've actually had to do a little bit of our field ops in Los Angeles for a few clients. And so I have no mechanical engineering background, no, any type of kind of field ops background, field engineering. And I have been able to kind of perform all of the tasks and duties. And so hopefully as we get into this presentation, if there's one thing I could stress is the simplicity and low barrier of entry, because I think that is so key to what we're trying to do here at Farmshelf. And so I, again, want to briefly start talking about the state of STEM, right? Something that as educators, administrators, people in education, right, a lot about, right? The opportunity, something that everyone talks about, more high paying jobs, right? We all know kind of the statistics around that. And then the true challenge, right? I think this is where we get really excited as a company because, right, engagement and career readiness is something that is really difficult to do, right? As we said, like 20% of college-bound high school students are prepared to, study STEM. And that's for a variety of reasons, for not having the right curriculum, not having the right mentors, not having enough of whatever. And I think a lot of it is also coming from inspiration and accessibility. And that's something that we at Farmshelf aim to help solve. And so taking everything kind of into account, right, we want to inspire interest in STEM. And I think that is our biggest key and our biggest kind of level set when we kind of approach the education space. We've built this great, beautiful machine that grows food for people, anywhere and everywhere in a simple way. And so the fact that you can touch it, see it, whether you're even live or via, remote, looking at the webcams, Farmshelf inspires you to grow things that you never thought were possible in places that you never thought were possible. And then also highlight achievement, right, through this hands-on learning. We've created great curriculum to really make sure that, students really feel that they are achieving something true. And nothing really, does that by, building and growing, right? So we've kind of taken building and, the mechanics and the computer science and the software to actually growing something that's organic and, using biology to kind of see how you can actually take something, that's a little seed and give it life. And, makes also kids appreciate how hard it is to make something live and grow. And the third is, showcase careers, right? We as a company are evidence of that. And we want to show that there is ample opportunity to grow in the STEM field. Through career days, classroom visits, videos, right? We are creating this kind of real career opportunities, and we're excited to partner with schools on those different things. So a little bit more kind of about Farmshelf, right? It really is as simple as wheel this thing into your classroom, plug it in, and it connects to the internet, and you're off to the races, right? We've created great Farmshelf curriculum that integrates into a lot of different STEM standards in a few different states. And we also can customize a lot of different lessons based on, the school, where you are located, urban, rural, suburban. We have kind of the facilities and staff to really come alongside you and making sure that your curriculum is kind of customized to your students and your needs. And lastly, we want to engage with your students, right? We're here to engage with the students, with you, with the entire community, because STEM and nutrition doesn't happen in a silo, right? These problems are systematic and they really need to take a 360-degree solution to fix and move the needle in a lot of these different directions. I do want to, I guess, stop here. Lisa, Alyssa, if there's any questions, feel free to interrupt. And for the rest of you that are viewing, feel free to send any questions. I know moving through a lot of material and happy to kind of, stop and kind of dig deep on any specific things that you might have. And I can also pull up the Q&A too, but otherwise I'll keep trucking along. So for those of you wondering, how you might use Farmshelf, we've kind of put it in 3 different areas, right? Custom STEM curriculum, nutrition and dining, and community experiences. And we really, again, going back to this 360-degree understanding of, who is kind of who are we trying to reach, what are we trying to do, and how are we going to do it. We believe these kind of verticals in the educational sphere are what is going to actually impact the students and the teachers and the community. Oops. So our very first time of going into schools was Brooklyn Democracy Academy, which is in Brownsville in Brooklyn. We're also based in Brooklyn, so it was just a natural fit. And we put 11 Farmshelf units growing leafy greens and herbs for students and teachers, along with the community. And this was by far one of the most successful pilots we've done, not just in the education space, but in all of our verticals that we're a part of. We had 35 students participate, 2 on-site interns, and created over 400 pounds of produce a year for the students, teachers, and community. This was in partnership with the Brooklyn Bureau President, Eric Adams, who has taken a very big interest in providing more access to fresh food, especially because, for Brownsville specifically in that area, right? Access to fresh food is limited. Rates of diabetes and obesity are much higher in that area, which then lead to a lower life expectancy. And so through this pilot is how we basically designed most of our education experiences. And we learned so much through kind of understanding, what the teachers need, understanding what the students need, and understanding what the community needs. And that's how we've kind of come up with this 360-degree understanding of, what we're trying to do in this space. I'm just going to pause here just to see if Alyssa and Lisa have any questions from the crowd. If not, we'll jump through.
Jared, we do have a couple coming through. I don't know if you want to save it for the end. Ira had mentioned, if Farmshelf is smart, then it is pre-programmed to be foolproof. Students learn by trial and error and making mistakes. Now, I know that was something that was my initial concern when we first learned about Farmshelf, but can you further elaborate on how it can be used in the classroom? Well, I guess you're about to do that. Farmshelf in the classroom. There's
That's great. And it is as simple, right? And we do create it as foolproof, right? And so that's kind of having hardware that is enabled by software, right? And so when we roll it in, you plug it in, and you get access to Farmshelf and Farm Cloud, right? And you're able to, kind of see how everything grows. You're able to change the LED colors, for example, right? So like in the curriculum, right, you'll go through and you'll understand, we use 3 different light spectrums, right? White light, blue light, red light, right? And so like we have, proprietary lighting that, we call it lighting recipes, right? That are for each, seed pod. And so that being said, like the world is your oyster, and you can see, okay, well, what if we just use red light? What's going to happen to the plants? Well, it's going to die. But that's a great lesson for kids to learn, because, I mean, as I know as a student, right? Sometimes I just want to do what I want to do, but then I actually get to see what the results of that is. And so I'm going to fight as hard as I can to say, I want, our Farmshelf to just be red lights for a whole week. and we're going to do it, and then we're going to see that plant die. And that's a great lesson, not only in plant science and how different light spectrums work, but also in when you do something, it has a reaction to kind of create something. And so as much as we make it foolproof, there are options where you are in the control seat, and you can do different things. And we also if you don't want to replace the nutrient bottles, right? So if you want to just use water and see what does only water versus adding our organic nutrients do, right? There's a lot of different ways, and that's kind of we built into the curriculum as well. And so that's the kind of the great thing about it. Hopefully that answers that question. But yeah, I mean, going into it, Farmshelf in the classroom, we've kind of looked at a curriculum, educational events, and professional development. And so we've really, again, being a hardware product, right, that has software, we are growing food, right? But we are more than just plant science, right? Integrated pest management, biology, history of hydroponics, right? What is hydroponics and how do you grow? What is the difference between hydroponics and other ways to grow food? Chemistry, the actual care of the farm shelf, and updates, right? All of these different elements, right, fall under the STEM category, but it's so broad and diverse that we're so excited because we really do think, Farmshelf is such a unique platform where it touches on so many different aspects in the STEM umbrella. Also educational events, right? And this goes into, again, our team being very dedicated to making sure your students, your teachers, your administration is successful. And so having special events, lectures, and assemblies with the Farmshelf team for special events, we really believe actually enhances the educational experience of the entire campus. Along with professional development, we believe, coming alongside teachers and administrators is vital. We know your job is hard enough, and so throwing just a farm shelf in your classroom is not just enough. That we need to constantly be, creating a better product and a better experience for you. And that's why, we are dedicated to continually creating more professional development curriculum for teachers as well. Farmshelf education for the community, we create also Farmshelf education experiences, right? So through farmers markets, career events, and internships are also very vital for the experience. And one of probably my favorite thing that we do is Farmshelf farmers markets. We don't just do this in the education world. We actually have done this at 30 Rock in New York City, right next to the ice skating rink. Right before pre-COVID, we did 4 units in 30 Rock, and we did weekly farmers markets, and we just passed out free, nutritious leafy greens and herbs, and it was a huge success because when people walk by, they're seeing, okay, what is this machine? It's growing food. And then when they actually get to the chance to taste it and see, wow, like I have never experienced, some wonderful taste that you have basil that, it's basil like you've never experienced before. And it's, kale that you've never experienced before. And so that gets us really excited because it broadens up not only the student's experience, but also it allows their parents to get involved, their grandparents, their aunts, uncles, right? The broader community at large. And I think this is a great avenue for them to really understand the impact of what nutritious food can do for people.
Jared, that does kind of connect to a question that Laura had, how you were mentioning the taste of it. She asked if the seed pods were organic or are they genetically modified?
Yeah, we don't use any genetically modified seeds because we don't have to. And so, right, we have a controlled environment. So most GMO seeds, right, the whole point is to make them, basically not have weeds or against pests or anything like that. But the beauty of Farm Shelf is we don't have to do that because, we don't have soil, we don't have pests because it's a controlled environment, and we know exactly what that seed needs. And so it's really the purest form of farming because all it is, water. We use all organic and natural nutrients that then feed into the water system that are all plant-based, and that then feeds the plant. And so it's really a very pure and simple way to grow food.
And just in kind of going back to Ira's original question about the variables that students could modify, you could modify the nutrients that the plants are receiving, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we provide 4 different nutrients, right, for the plants. And so, right, like if you are like, venturesome and you want to kind of run different experience, we tell you what each kind of nutrient bottle does, and right, like there's a reason why we use the ones we use, and they're for different types of water and different types of plants and things like that. And so you can run, your own A/B test in classrooms, right? And I think that gets to the limitless opportunities with Farm Shelf, in terms of, this isn't just a one and done. We're gonna grow Portuguese kale, in December and then throw it away, right? Like the opportunities for experimentation in biology, in chemistry, in computer science, in engineering are limitless, right? It is this fully interconnected platform that allows you to really dig deep into all these different subjects at your own will. So hopefully that answered that question. But these are great questions, and it's really exciting to kind of hear, how you all are thinking through this, especially from that perspective of trying to experiment and trying to get kids to learn in different ways. So additionally, besides, just farmers markets, career fairs, obviously we love career fairs. It's, not only just from, we want to support, students, but as a, Brooklyn-based startup, right? We want to support the ag tech community because we believe, the future of urban ag is not just us, but it's a community of companies that are thinking like this and thinking in this futuristic way. And so we're really dedicated and excited to support in those ways. And obviously, moving forward, we'll have to get a little bit more creative of how career fairs are probably going to be happening. But that's the beauty of what we're excited for and signing up for, is getting creative in the new normal, and really signing up and doubling down on our commitments. I briefly talked about this earlier with the Brownsville Brooklyn Democracy Academy. Internships for students who are 18 or older in high school or even in college, right? I think this is a huge opportunity for us and for students, because I think all of us can really, know deep down that hands-on experience like this and workforce experience is vital to that next step of STEM education, right? And making sure that we kind of move the needle on a lot of those statistics that we care about. And so we are very committed to, a robust and emerging internship program of making sure that, we are not only just providing these systems, but we're providing jobs, and we're providing, hands-on experience in, whether that's on the computer science side, the engineering side, whether that's on the field operations side, or the plant science side. And I think this is something that I'm very excited about, because I can see this being probably one of the most impactful places that we are a part of. So I've talked a lot about what we're doing in education, our whole kind of thesis and what we're trying to do and move the needle. But I want to take a quick step back and talk to you a little bit about like what we're trying to do, right? Our mission here at Farmshelf is to feed and empower people through revolutionary food systems. And I think hopefully you got that ethos throughout this presentation. and having that understanding of, we don't just want to grow tasty, great food for 5-star or 3-star Michelin star rated restaurants, right? We want to make something that is not only tastes wonderful that top chefs want to eat, but we also want to make it accessible to kids at a young age so they understand the importance of what nutritious, tasteful food is. And so that's why I go back to, we want to make sure that this is approachable, right? And that's why we're trying to redefine what this learning model looks like. And so from just making it simple of inserting seed pods, adding water, harvesting crops, and then always growing with additional curriculum, we really believe is the recipe for success in scaling this throughout different school districts and different academic environments. And this is where I get to brag about our supporters today and who's brought us all together, which is tech. We're lucky enough that we partnered with tech to make it super simple for any school to purchase a Farmshelf for their classroom. It's really as simple as going onto the website and making this purchase. Luckily, they are a DOE approved vendor. And so through them and then through our custom client portals, we're able to kind of scale that curriculum with you. We're able to come into your school, install it in a very simple way, and then additionally just grow with you as you grow this food. So I've kind of wrapped up my portion on talking about, bringing what Farmshelf is, what do we do in the education front, and then how you can, get it in your classrooms. But this is where I get to brag about our team. And so this picture was taken just a few days ago, and this is our team who is continuously working tirelessly, even during this pandemic, in a safe way, to making sure that all of our clients, all of our schools, everyone who has Farmshelf continues to have access to continue to grow food and to continue to make sure that our food supply chain is secure and well established. And so I know that for many of you, going back to school and all of that is just kind of a question mark, and all of you are legitimately superheroes for all the work that you're doing and all the question marks that you're dealing with. And so I just want to highlight that our team is here to support you all. Our mission really is, to make these radical food systems, and put them in many places as possible. And that doesn't happen without a dedicated team like this, who's willing to, day in, day out, making sure that these machines are working great, that they are able to come to you at any point in a safe manner and fix anything that needs to happen, or customize anything, whether that's on the hardware side or the software side. We really are a dedicated team that is making sure that you all have the tools necessary. And speaking of the mysterious time that is COVID-19, this is one of my favorite kind of gifts, right? Time lapses of actual produce that was grown on site at Mercado Little Spain in Hudson Yards. And this is something that you can expect, right? Your students can create these time lapses. They can see this produce being grown over time. They can see it live. And that's what really gives us really the advantage of understanding, okay, even if a student can't be hands-on in the unit, clipping away, making sure that the unit is pristine, right? They can see it from a distance and they can understand, okay, if I'm gonna change the water levels here, if I'm gonna change this, I can actually still see it via the internet, that these changes are happening. And so I think this is really exciting for us to really step into this new crazy time with all of you as you try to find new ways to continue to teach and continue to believe in our students and making sure that their futures are, here to create a better world for the rest of us. So that wraps up my presentation. Would love to ask, talk about anything that you guys might have. And, yeah, really excited to dig in with any questions you guys might have.
All right, we had a couple of questions come into the Q&A box. Ellen wants to know, she has to ask, it's the tough question, what is the cost? Do they pay for the shelf only? Do they get the supplies from you? Is it ongoing? And is there also a service agreement?
Great question. Yeah. So the units right now are basically around a little bit more than $8,000 per unit, and we do have a 2-unit minimum. And again, you can purchase those through tech. And so there is, we normally do have a subscription model, but obviously with the education kind of DOE standards and things like that, doing subscriptions are a little tough. But I would just bring you to this page. And so if you are interested and have very specific standards or questions that maybe our out of the box units don't fit, we're happy to kind of customize different things for you. And so you're more than happy to reach out to us at this email. And then also my email is at the bottom of this page. I'm happy to kind of guide you through anything in between tech and ourselves. Again, we're very committed to making sure, that there's a solution out there for every school.
And just a reminder to everyone, if you don't have a pen handy, don't worry. We are going to be emailing this presentation out to you. So you will have all this information readily available. Okay, there is one more question from Barbara. Is Farmshelf affiliated with NASA and or universities in the US that offer college degrees in this new field?
Great question. We are not affiliated with NASA. But if you know anyone, Barbara, let us know. We would love to have an astronaut on staff. But no, we do partner with a few different universities on some research. But in terms of degrees that are applicable for Farmshelf, right? Almost everything under the sun, right? I mean, we have plant scientists, we have software engineers, we have hardware engineers, we have systems engineers, right? And so anything from computer science, mechanical engineering, right? Anything with engineering in it, basically, right? We just are bringing on a PhD who has been spending the last few years, she's been working in basically big data problems, right? And so we kind of touch everything under the sun. And so there's not necessarily a Farmshelf major, although that would be great one day. But yeah, so that's kind of we really do touch on a lot of different fronts, and that's I think why we're really excited. Is this is kind of a new frontier in the hydroponic space, and yeah.
Yeah, Barbara just said the reason she asked was she could see it being a great source of fresh food for the astronauts. Barbara, you are so correct, because I'm sure they are probably very sick of whatever they are eating.
They are, yeah. It's hydroponics and so in our curriculum, right, we talk about the history of hydroponics, right? And so hydroponics, actually, NASA has done a lot of research into hydroponics. We use a lot of NASA research. There's, a lot out there. And so you're totally right on the same kind of thought train, right? And hydroponics, especially, right? I think all of you can, understand and relate, right? There's a lot of talk, especially in the last few months, of how do we grow food, right? I was in New York when the pandemic hit, and I would go to Trader Joe's, and there was no fresh produce. There was nothing, right? There's just, the options were limited, right? We were all, basically at some point, with just Bush's beans, right?
Scrambling. We were scrambling.
Yeah, we were all figuring out. And so that's, I think, what gets us really excited is, during the pandemic, we were able to, supply a lot of different local communities with fresh, herbs and leafy greens, right? That, were just not available because our supply chain was broken. And so I think that's what gets us really excited. And so I'm with you on the NASA front. We're thinking the same way.
If you're curious about what you can grow with the farm shelf, I put into the chat the crop guide that Farm Shelf has on their website, and it shows you all the different herbs that you can uh, grow in the farm shelf, as well as edible flowers. That is interesting to me.
Yeah, the edible flowers are really, again, I don't come from the high end food world, but they are a very big thing. And so it's really interesting, right? Like even talking with kids, right? We were growing some edible flowers in the Brooklyn Democracy Academy, and just even talking about that of like, that's such a conversation starter of, wait, these we can eat these, and it's like, oh, these are provide this and this, and so it's really exciting. And on that crop guide, we actually have some very exciting news that we're adding tomatoes to our next kind of product development. So that's currently being kind of in development, and we're really excited for 2022 for when tomatoes will be added as well. And so I think that just goes to show like we're committed to growing this product in multiple facets, from not only just our crop list, but also the features and the guides, right? I mean, we're in the first inning of this, to use a little baseball term, and we're just getting started, and we're really excited to, understand what the different needs are, and really grow with the people that are using Farmshelf.
I was just thinking with the crop guide, typically when you receive your seed pods, it comes with instructions on the best way to place them within the farm shelf on the shelf. It has like a visual guide. So
Yep.
another variable that you could put into place with your students is adjusting the placement of the plants. If you put them closer together or further apart, how does that impact the growth? Just, basically with this machine, I think the interesting thing is, yes, it is a machine that can be optimized for perfect growth, right? So if you wanted to use it for your home and careers classes, if you have a cooking club or something like that, yes, you could make tons of herbs and have it grow successfully. But there's also that use in the science classroom where you can play with the different variables. Even if the machine is optimized to perfection, you can mess it up.
Yeah, and this time lapse shows you like this is a perfect grow, right? That's why we use it in presentations. It looks beautiful. It's perfect in every way, right? And even as much as that, I say how simple and easy it is. At the end of the day, these are living things, right? And living things don't always do what you want it to do. As much as we kind of try to formulate it, right? And this happens to be a perfect growing scenario. All the plants were seeded exactly properly, and it all worked out, right? But that's the beauty of working with living things, is there's sometimes things go a little awry, and a stem might grow a little bit, in a different direction than you want it to, and that's okay. And that's like where the fun gets of like, okay, let's go harvest this. And, there gets to kind of be a little bit of an art with harvesting. And so for anyone who has a green thumb, right, like, that, trimming and cutting is like, it really is a true art, and it's not a science. But that's why we also say, at the end of the day, we're a green thumb in the cloud, right? We've built this so that we've automated the really, really hard parts, but have still left enough of an art form for you to actually enjoy.
Laura mentioned in the chat it would be a great bridge to food prep and preservation.
What was that?
Laura said in the chat it would be a great bridge to food prep and preservation.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of our, again, a lot of our units are in restaurants, in corporate cafeterias, and hotels, and kind of in those, business settings. And so, we also are now putting farm shelves in people's homes. And so, right, understanding, the difference between, harvesting from a farm shelf versus going to, you know, something like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's and getting different things, right? There's a big difference in terms of freshness and nutrition and flavor that is very noticeable. And so like that's a great different kind of understanding of how you prep, you know, fresh basil versus like store-bought basil or frozen, you know, basil, right? There's a lot of different things like that.
All right, looks like someone with a sense of humor. Hemp seedlings are available. Somebody had to ask.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of those, you know, like people talk about like stock kind of things with like a hardy stock, right? So this is going to maybe a little bit too of an ag sciencey perspective, but right, people ask all the time also of like, why don't you grow wheat or corn? And so for us, right, our mission is to bring, you know, healthy, nutritious food to people, right? And so a lot of those crops where they're grown are easily transportable, right? Like they don't go bad, they don't take refrigeration, you know, and things like that. And so for us, right, you know, most of our produce and leafy greens and herbs are grown in two places in the United States, in Arizona and California. And so if you're not in those areas, your kale, your romaine, your lettuce, all those things are sitting on a truck for 30 plus 40 hours until they get to your grocery store. And so I think, you know, you probably might even notice when you're in, you know, Boston, Massachusetts and getting produce versus, you know, in the dead of winter versus you're in Los Angeles getting produce, there's going to be probably a big difference in quality just by that transportation link. And so that's something that we really are looking at. And so another fun activity we have done with some schools is buying store-bought produce and then comparing it to farm shelf produce. Because right, like for us, like the proof is in the produce, right? And I think that's the fun lesson and the hands-on learning that people can learn.
That's great. It's really what your imagination can just take you with this, right? It's all whatever you can imagine. It's very cool. If there aren't any more questions, I think we're going to wrap up. I did want to let everyone know that we have more sessions scheduled for today. At 2 o'clock, we have student engagement. Are they really learning with smart technologies? If you would like to register for that session, you can go to the tech website, our events tab, and there you'll see the Tech Virtual Summit page where all the registration links are. And then at 3 p.m., we have Powering Learning, keeping today's diverse educational devices charged and powered with Fly Charge. And I guess no other questions have come in. Jared, we can't thank you enough. This was an excellent presentation. We really appreciate your time and learning everything about this amazing product. We really love Farmshelf here.
That was great. Well, you all will have that presentation emailed to you all. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to my email and happy to be assistance in any way.
Excellent. All right. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you at 2 o'clock for our next session. See you soon.